Hello, Blake Britton here from Train Whip Company, and this video is to kind of discuss the way and the nature a whip is designed to crack. Um, I've had a lot of people through the years wanting to learn how to crack whips better in different ways, and a lot of my videos on my YouTube channel for that reason. So what I thought this is good is to really just explain how a whip is designed to crack, general understanding, basics, how to hold it, things like how to understand the pressure needed to generate the loop, ways to hold it, etc. I've had a lot of videos that kind of hit these points separately, but thought it'd be good to get it all together. And this is usually something I frequently have to explain, which I don't have a video for a lot of people that I teach online or that I don't get to work with in person. So this is a bullwhip. Right now I've got a tripod. Hopefully it gets in film, but I'm just going to try to, see what it does. Kind of rambling there, but anyways, this is a bullwhip. There's a lot of different types of whips. Like a stock whip is the only other one I want to show, but unlike a bullwhip, a stock whip has a hinge joint, and a bullwhip is braided off the handle, so it's not separate. And with this, a bullwhip should have what you'd call a natural coil, and it should have some tightness. Now these are a set of Joe strains that Vince Bruce used in a lot of whip shows, and they're very heavily used. But even though they have been, look, it still has such a great rigidity to the coil, on its side. Now, as far as the bullwhip, this is a heel knot. We can call it a pommel, but usually call it the heel knot, or commonly known as the Turk's head. This is the handle. This is a transition knot because the transition on this one happens to be around here, but the transition where it's no longer handle and it's all leather and thong. But the transition knot is usually around the top of that. Now, as far as a whip, you don't really want to grab the handle. You want to grab the heel knob because, grabbing the heel knob allows you to have most of the handle to be able to use for leverage. And if you grab higher up, it kind of shortens the handle. But also, this is something a little wider, so you can get a hold of it and really kind of direct. Now, a whip, a good braided whip, should have a natural coil to the whip in a way it wants to coil. Just like we want to coil one way more than we want to coil another way. You want to know how to find it, you can just drop your whip on the ground, but really all you got to do is just turn your whip upside down. I'll just spin it to show you, but just grab it however, and then raise it up. And wherever it is, it should naturally find its coil if it's a well-braided leather kangaroo whip. And so what I want to understand is that when you grab a whip at the heel knot, I want to know that, imagine it's like it's a hammer, like I'm hammering a nail. I want you to know that the head of the hammer should line up with your knuckles. Imagine it was a blade, like you're going to chop something with it. So we're going to use the cattleman's. I'll just back up real quick, but we're going to learn to do the cattleman's crack. And you just raise your arm up and bring it down, and we're going to get into that. But I want you to know to grab a whip. There's a lot of different thoughts on how to grab a whip about which way this curve should go. And a lot of people, they'll bring it forward. And you can crack a whip like that, and you can get pretty accurate, don't get me wrong. But to me, it has a harder time wanting to make this coil and roll out to go forward, while if you turn it around, all I technically have to do is tilt it forward and it already makes the coil that's going to roll on out. So grab the whip, grab the heel knob, raise it up. It doesn't matter where it is. I'll spin around. I should spin from a weird angle, but it was, there's the coil. And then all I want you to do is turn it around. All right? So it's on the outside of you, but it's going backwards. Just like if you put it on your shoulder like that, you just pick it up. Now I want you to kind of hang on to that. Make sure it's firm, because when you do multiple cracks, you don't want to slowly turn in your hand sideways. All right, now I'm going to just talk about whip geometry. Now, first of all, I want you to kind of imagine a plane like this. All right, a straight plane about chest level. And what I'm trying to do is crack my whip and hit whatever's at the end of that plane. Now, with the cattleman's, you can just bring it down and back, especially if you're going to do multiple routines with it, or fast figure eights. You got to learn to bring it back and not just point, but for targeting or wrapping, you got to point. So we're going to just kind of look at that and imagine when I crack that out, it just kind of stops there. But imagine that horizontal plane going out and back. All right. Now, first of all, like I said, I want you to grab it like it's a hammer or a sword blade. Whatever direction I want to crack this coil should be what I cast out. Whatever angle I want to go with it, this coil and this lineup with my knuckles should be consistent. So make sure it doesn't spin or spiral. Now, when you do a cattleman's, like I said, I want to see that horizontal plane. And what I want to see on top of that right now is I want you to imagine a vertical plane, and it'll be when I have this at maximum, when I have this vertically straight up, all right, and I want you to imagine this plane cutting through that plane. And I want you to know that my end stop, or my end point on at least the way I'm teaching it, this cattleman's, is just think about how this whip, when it raises up, I want it to stop here. All right, so since I want to go that way, I want to make sure I raise it up and pause, and I want to keep it paused here. All right, now, one of the biggest problems I've noticed from watching a lot of videos of people cracking whips, and you know, that most common thing they're going to hear for a long time, and it's kind of hard to explain, is they want you to use less and less energy cracking a whip. You know, like quit muscling it. You know, I try to explain it. You've got to learn to feel the whip, first of all, so you don't muscle it. And then when I'm looking at people that either don't know it or they're trying to learn it and they're still having problems, it's very common. The one thing I realize when they're having a hard time feeling the whip, which we'll get into feeling in a minute, is some very basic mechanics on just any crack you're doing that will help from now on out. And it's just the smallest thing, and it's just proper technique. And they're like, what makes proper technique? And I'm just going to go from a very basic conceptual understanding. Now, first of all, like I said, let's imagine that line. That's where I want to go. Let's know that I got to raise this up and pause, so then I can put it on that line and point at what I want to hit. Now you got these shapes in mind: pommel, this and back. Now, if a whip's straight out, I can't send it out. So wherever I want it to go, wherever I want to shoot it, since we're going straight, I need, as this goes up, the momentum and weight of the whip to go behind itself in the opposite direction. So imagine as the bulk of this is about to hit horizontal, that's where I now, with this straight up, want to just bring it forward and point. And now that's going to take that weight, and all I get to do is turn this handle over, and because it's already going forward and pointing, it'll make that just continue straight down and hit it. So once again, we're trying to achieve this. We're going to start on the ground here. Do not start up like this. I know you think it's quicker, and I mean, you can make it work, but I want it behind you. And so what we're going to try to do is raise this up, pay attention that no matter what, the handle freezes at 12 o'clock. And then as far as once the overall whip, try to watch the thong, try to actually watch this. As it about hits the horizontal plane, you bring it forward. All right? So straight line's what I want. I've got to get the weight all the way behind it. And once freeze this here, so that this is my stop point. And this is the one mechanic that most people are failing at when they're trying to learn how to crack with minimal effort. And the reason is just that this isn't consistent. Because if you do it like this one time, you know, and cast it out, or you do it like this, or most time people get it all the way back here. You can make it work and still go forward, but to do it would be hard, and you're going to have to muscle it more. So you're not supposed to have it here like a football, like where this handle's here. You need to learn to, no matter what, it stops. Now, as far as body mechanics, it's not about this right now. I'm not trying to talk about you need a certain stance. You know, you want to use as little effort, full body, to like rock everything and bring it back so you can put little effort. I'm not talking about trying to keep, you know, two-handed whip cracking stance. I'm not really talking about that. I'm just trying to, like, let's understand how this whip works. So now every crack has a beginning and end point to help understand it. And the reason most people have a problem, and I know they can still do the cattleman's crack, but a lot of times it looks like this. Whatever it is, this isn't always consistent. And now one of the main reasons isn't just because of the stopping point, but that's a huge one, is that if you're throwing a whip to learn by timing, you're going to have problems. Because this whip, let's see how fast I can do a cattleman is a good form. With a finger. I'll just use my finger to crack it. Ready? I'll go faster though. I just learned to hit the finger at a time. I can go 1 and 2, but I can also go 1, 2, 3, and crack. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the timing can be adjusted when you have control. Right? Just go way too slow or something, you know, it doesn't go right, it's not going to crack, right? But there's a timing thing where you can do it in a second, in about 2 seconds or more. So if you're trying to time in your mind when to crack forward, and that's still part of your cracking, that's where your problem is, because if you're trying to count like 1 and crack, 1 and crack, 1 and crack, but if this goes faster, 1 and crack, 1 in, crack, 1 in, crack, 1 in, crack. The timing's off because you have a second or two delay on how slow you can bring this up to even bring it out. So relying on timing only helps when you have learned how to feel the whip and when the weight shifts in proper form, because once you get that down, you can learn to speed things up or slow things down when you're trying to time them with other things or other tricks. Because you're doing two-handed whips and you just finally find this one's like off kilt or it's going a little faster than the other and you're losing your timing, you've got to either like speed them both up or you've got to slow this down. And so learning that control comes from, once again, learning how to do the whip right or learn to start and stop, and it's just a matter of speeding up. So once again, a lot of times the problem with people trying to get this is worried about the timing. But the timing only matters or would work if I'm always got the same upstroke and the same time point to create the exact same thing. You can make it rhythmic, but when you don't understand the concept, you've been relying on head timing, you're gonna have problems. So visually, when you're learning, first thing to always make sure of is that when you bring it up and pause, or you're looking at brother, make sure this is frozen here and it's never over here. You're gonna have inconsistencies if we don't at least start the crack at the same spot. Because if we stop this here, we're not starting at the same spot. Now you can watch this almost hit the horizontal plane. As long as you see this whip is about to pass that horizontal plane at chest level, it's ready to go forward. All right, it's ready to go forward right then. And you can do it by sight. I can even look in the opposite direction. I know how to make that whip crack. Like I said, you can do it by sight. But feeling is what's kind of most important, because your first real goal, besides understand how to make this crack, is how to be able to do it with little effort, little to none. Here, I'll use it with a fingertip on it. I'm just gonna push this finger at the right time. I'm gonna try not to like use my wrist to bring it down anything. Ready? And let it drop. A fingertip, whoops. The whip was a little turned on that one, but I can still make a fingertip do it. Because I know when to crack it forward, and I just put the right pressure at the right time. Whips are designed, a well-made whip is designed to crack. So I've tried to explain how to feel the whip with a lot of people, and the problem I get is they're saying they think they're feeling or they're working at it. But when I watch usually the first video back, and it's very common, is that fact that they're not making this solid, they're getting mixed signals from the whip. So once again, the cattleman's crack. The cattleman's crack can be just done bringing it through, and that's good. Doesn't matter which lead, really. Doesn't matter what stance. Doesn't matter if I hit a ceiling, as long as I let it go behind me before I crack. Body mechanics can play a factor in it. I'm not insulting anyone talking about body mechanics posture. I'm just saying, don't worry so much about that right now if you're trying to understand how to crack a whip well and not muscle it, which is kind of part of the goal. Just learn how the whip is supposed to crack. All right. Now I know that, like I said, imagine that hammer. Imagine I got a hammerhead right here. Well, in theory, that hammerhead right there, if I stop it here, I know that if I point this handle, it's going to go forward. So I know that that hammerhead almost, you could say, is like a sight, because wherever this is perpendicular, all right, that's where when I bring it forward, it's going to go. So if I have this up here and the weight's behind it, it's going to go up there. So I want this straight. I don't want it back like a football. You can manage to still make it go forward, but the thing is, if it's like this anyways, once the weight's here and you go forward, it's going to more likely go up. And if I have to, once again, I want to bring it farther forward, it kind of changes the way it'll crack. Not that you still can't get a crack. But when we're talking about wrapping or other things, you want to, you want to make sure, you know, that you can line it up straight, and you want to make sure you can hit it every time, right? Now, so that was a lot of talking, but this is all to help you with any crack, because once again, we're going to look at it again. So we understand the cattleman's. I want you to bring it behind every time if you learn it, try to find control. Doesn't matter if you swing your arm up nice and smooth like you're bowling at your body. Doesn't matter if you just swing your arm as one whole unit, just like you go to shake hands. Doesn't matter if you just do it like that. There it is. Just bend the whole thing. Well, I still don't want to do this. You know, I don't want to bring it up too much. Just bend your elbow and bring it up. I could just bend an elbow and crack it. I could just take my wrist and flick it up and crack. Whoops, sorry. I could just flick my wrist and have my finger crack it. All right, as long as you understand the mechanics of this. So don't worry so much about the body right now. Definitely make sure you're in the train tracks and not, you know, like you're jumping rope and you're hitting yourself with it. But understanding this geometry, I want to go there. I'm going to make a perpendicular angle. As soon as the weight shifts behind it, I now point to where I want to hit, and it'll create that loop and just continue straight out. All right. Now with this, you can finally crack with less effort. Because if this isn't always in the same spot, you can't really have a common denominator to start to understand the pull, so you know when you need to go forward. So as long as I know, just by having this kind of stop in the same spot every time. Now, if you guys always do this, I mean, I'd rather be more straight, but I'd rather you always do this than still once this, one that. So part of that, being able to crack with no effort, comes just knowing how to stop this so this isn't still traveling with the whip, giving it a standstill spot. So when the weight gets behind it, you know when to just kind of push it forward. All right. Now that's what I call how to feel the whip, but you can't feel it if you don't stop it. Now a lot of people that are new to cracking whips or still trying to understand it, they get a lot of, like I said, a lot of odd mechanics trying to get it, and they say I'm muscling it, and you know it's kind of, you know, but you know they put a lot into it, and it's going to torque your whip more to hit it that hard. And the thing is, you can put body mechanics into that, and I'll still crack with just a fingertip. Like I can still go and crack light. You don't really have to go, and you don't have to do it really hard, because I have the mechanics. I can get a loud crack with putting just even a little bit more than I have now. You don't really need to go slamming your body into it. Now, the key to get control comes down to that. One, learn to put as little effort into it. And I'm going to show you one more thing on how to crack it. Begin to see all cracks based on this geometry real quick on that. Or at least the cattleman type cracks. I'm going to crack it. Doesn't matter what my body's doing. I'm going to crack it as much as I can with this hand holding it and this hand cracking it. All right. So once again, doesn't matter what my body's doing. I'm going to come up here, and it's going to be hard because this is really awkward. I'm going to try to bring it up so this stops it. And as soon as I feel that pressure, I'm going to flick it out. Ready? I'm just going to try to have this hang in my end. So once again, I'm getting it to a stopping point. I'm just saying, well, that stops it. The moment I feel that tug, which is usually where it's horizontal, all I got to do is, you can make a fingertip crack it. This is designed to crack. And like I said, doesn't matter what I'm doing. Just look at this as a separate entity. The geometry and everything. Just the fact that it's done at the right time. Block, bring it out. All right. I hope this is informative. I know there's a lot of talking into it. This is really, I've been meaning to make this for a while. I could probably explain a little bit better, a little bit cleaner. Kind of just kept repeating myself. That's a common thing if you've watched my videos, but this needs to be understood because they call whip cracking an expression in minimalism. In other words, the whole goal is that you put minimal effort into something that goes very slow. I don't know how much it is when I push my finger, but at the end of the day, that cracker, whoops, hitting things on the ground. By the time that little effort multiplies, this little part spins fast enough to break the sound barrier. So everything about a whip is designed for that to happen. So you shouldn't have a problem making your whip crack. You know, sometimes it is the whip, sometimes it's the cracker, guy cracking the whip. But the thing is, I want you just to know that to not muscle it, you have to understand how to use it better. And how to understand to use it better is you try to take away the human equation of not worrying about putting your body behind too much at all, and just understand what makes this whip crack. Right? And it'll help everything else. And when you do the overhead, same thing. Learn to, whatever you do, whether you overhead traditionally, because you're going to be doing 2 hand routines, so you need the overhead crack to come over to place it over there, or you like more the, you ever had that comes around more, and now with this handle you sort it forward. This is more, not quite how Anthony does it, but the whole point of it is now it's no longer cracking like this, crisping out. It's coming around a little farther. So then what I can do with this handle is now push it, whoops, push it forward and hit you. I'll try to slow it up, doesn't matter. But it's Blake Bruni again. Thanks for watching. Hopefully it came out good. You're on a tripod. Leave some comments if this is helpful or you have any other questions about it. Hope this is helpful to anyone. Otherwise, I'm kind of wasting everyone's time. Have a wonderful day. God bless.